Hi, I'm Bethany Warren, and you are joining me to listen to the podcast of our Millwall fan show with the No One Likes Us Talking team, which is available every Friday at 8 p.m.
It's Friday night. I'm your host, Miles Blumsom, and I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Eamon Barkley, Patricia Maslin, and Ted Robinson.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Football's back on Saturday. It's been a weird time, but we're excited. Eamon, Patricia, Ted, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Miles. It's nice to hear from you again after quite a while without missing you on Love Sport Radio, but good to hear you again. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Are you excited that football's going to be back, even though you can't get down to the game?
Yeah, I'm ever so excited. I think we're in a terrific position to give it a go, and it's all to play for. So I'm looking forward to it. Whether it's that I'm watching it on the telly, that'll do me, given the circumstances.
Well, you can't do anything else, Eamon. Sorry.
Well, I could listen to it on the radio.
Unfortunately, you can't get in there. It's going to be strange. Of course, it's going to be strange because it's not like anything else that we've known. But look, we're in a good position. Let's hope our boys can deal with the strangeness of it all better than most. Because I really do think they've got a fantastic chance of getting in the playoffs.
Does it feel like a home game because you can't go?
Well, it will be, but it'd be a bit strange looking at my seat that's empty. But
you should have paid for a cut-out then, shouldn't you?
I should have paid for a cut-out. You're right. There weren't enough cardboard to get me on it, so.
Hopefully, the game's going to be excited enough that you don't have to spend the whole time looking out for your seat.
Exactly, that's exactly what you want. It's just there will be some stages within the game where it feels really strange because you can't take away the importance of a crowd at a football match. The difference that it will be is incredible in my eyes. It always has been. Watching some of the Bundesliga stuff and then the Premier the other night starting, but it is what it is. It's the next best thing, isn't it? Then at least everything's going to be decided on the football pitch, which is where it should be.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about the game against Derby on Saturday. 1 o'clock kickoff at the Den later on in the show. Over the past few weeks, we've focused on a period of time that our listeners have asked to hear about. Of course, that's the playoff finals of 2009 and 2010, and the return of the Championship in the 2010-11 season. So far, we've had Alan Dunn, Tam Makandawire, Scott Barron, Danny Schofield, Liam Trotter and David Ford speaking about their involvement during that era. Tonight, we have another member of the Millwall side from that time. He started his career at Oxford United in 2000. In 2006, he followed former Hughes manager Graham Ricks to Hearts, but didn't stay long. Joined Millwall later on that year. He remained on the books with the Lions for 6 years, and after a couple of loan spells in his last season, he headed to Northampton and finally hung up his playing boots at Barnet in 2016. Currently, he's back where it all started as a coach at Oxford United. It's the man that could almost fly down the wing and get great crosses into the strikers, Chris Hackett.
Thanks, Miles. Good evening, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good to speak to you,
Chris.
Chris, welcome to the show. We'll start by asking you sort of the most important question to ask everyone at this time. How have you been during the lockdown period, and how's the family been?
Yeah, it's obviously a very strange period for everybody, really. Obviously, I'm still involved in football, so it's been strange being involved with the club and seeing what's going on there at the minute. Obviously, we're, as a first team, involved in the playoffs as well, so they've been prepping up for the playoffs coming up. In terms of, I coach under 18s there now, so our season's been ended and we've been trying to kind of coach the boys remotely via Zoom and all sorts of different things. So it's been challenging, to be honest, but it is what it is for now, and we've had to deal with it. In terms of what lockdown's been like, I've got a young family, so it's been good to spend some real quality time with them, so it kind of it brings other positives.
So pleased to hear that you and the family, the girls and that, have not been affected by the virus, Chris. That's great news. But looking back, how did the move to Millwall come about?
So as Miles talks about there, I grew up in Oxford, broke into the first team at Oxford at the time. I think we were League 1 at the time, League 2 struggling a little bit, League 1, League 2. I was playing regularly then. I moved to Hearts when I was 21. At the time, Graham Ricks, who was the manager at Oxford, took me up there. quite quickly that changed because they had new owners. I mean, Hearts at the time were flying, to be honest. They were top of the league, challenging with Celtic for the title. They had some top players. They had some new investment. A Russian owner took over the club, Romanov. He put a lot of money into the club. So not long after I'd been there, Rixey got sacked, and a new manager came in. A Lithuanian guy came in. So I was 21 up in Edinburgh, signed a 3-year contract, and at the time I wasn't involved in a team. So, I mean, I wanted to play. I was young. I wasn't just going to sit there on my contract. I wanted to go and play quickly. So by the time the summer had come, Millwall showed an interest, and I jumped at the opportunity, to be honest. I think they'd just come out of the Championship. I knew there'd be a transition stage going on, but Millwall for me was a massive club, and I really jumped at the opportunity to come and play.
Chris, you're unlucky with injury, but coming into the 2008-09 season, Kenny Jackett took what was to us a little bit of a strange idea at the time, but put you at fullback.
Yeah.
How did you find the adjustment in playing that game? I've got to be honest, I thought it suited you, Chris.
Yeah,
I thought it suited your game.
I enjoyed it, to be honest. I mean, I'd just come off the back of the 07-08 season. I'd done my cruciate, so I'd just come off the back of that. Kenny had just come in, and I'd done my cruciate just before, and he was brilliant with me. I think he knew about me before as an out-and-out wide player, and he kind of looked after me, got me through that cruciate injury. And as soon as I got back, I think pre-season, I come back flying. To be honest, I was fit, raring to go off the back of off the injury at the time. And I don't know, to be honest, I think the full-back position was starting to change a little bit in the Premier League. You saw attacking full-backs. Lower leagues, it wasn't so much the norm, but it was starting to go that way a little bit. And I think he stuck me there in a pre-season game. I think it was away at Ebbsfleet. I think we had an injury to one of the full-backs, and I was playing wide right, and he stuck me there for the last half an hour against Ebbsfleet. And I did well there, and he spoke to me after and said, look, I think you could do a job there. And he stuck me there from then, to be fair. So it was his faith in that, really. He'd seen something at the Ebbsfleet game, and he stuck me in there. And I really enjoyed it, to be fair. I really enjoyed playing that.
You never played there before, Chris? Because I've got to be honest, mate, you took to it like a duck to water to me. I actually thought, who's this player? He's better than the one we used to have on the right wing, but he looks like him.
I enjoyed it. I played wing back a little bit at Oxford, so I played there, but not as an out-and-out full-back. To be honest, I got a lot of bookings when I first went in there because my timing of challenges wasn't great.
I wasn't going to mention that, Chris, but
I think I got picked up about 5 bookings in the first 6-7 games, to be honest with you.
You've been watching Dunny too much.
I know. Dunny was a real good 1v1 defender, and I think my timing was a little bit out. If anything, I picked up the position. I knew the game. I think I understood the game. So, to be honest, I picked that up quite quickly, but it was just the timing of the tackles and stuff like that. I struggled with a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting bombing on and joining and getting crosses in. So it was it was good.
Chris, you was a key part of the Millwall promotion campaign that year. What were your most memorable games in the league?
So I mean, I think we had an average start. We started the first few games slowly. I think the key game, I remember playing at, Leicester were in the league that season, the 08-09 season, and Leicester were a big club at the time. I think we went away to Leicester and beat them 1-0, and that was kind of a turning point for us in the season, that game. And I think from then on we went on a good run. From then I think we played Leeds not long after at home, beat them 2-3-1 at home, I think, and they were strong that season, so that kind of kicked us on. We never really challenged. I don't think we really challenged that season in the top 2, whereas obviously 09-10 we kind of were right up there, but we were always floating in and around the playoffs. And we had a kind of the makings of a strong squad there. Obviously Gaz Alexander was scoring some goals, and he played well that season. Chopper came in, I think, halfway through, if I was right. Did he come in halfway through the season, or he came in, scored a few goals? So it was a make. We kind of were ticking along, and I think Leicester ran away with the league, but we were always pushing, and obviously made the playoffs in the end.
You missed out on the Leeds playoff semis, but you featured as a sub coming on for Lewis Grabham at Wembley. What are your memories of the final?
So I think I picked up an injury over the playoffs. So I missed those games. Obviously, Ellen Road game when Jimmy scored that goal. That was an unbelievable game.
Yeah.
And we had massive momentum off the back of that. So I think we were playing against Scunthorpe. From playing Leeds to Scunthorpe, no offence to Scunthorpe, obviously it was a big drop in the sides of the club, So I think everybody's expecting us to go and walk all over them. But that year, Scunthorpe were a strong team at that level. Had some good League One players, and it was a tough game, I think I actually went on. I think I came on for grabs. We were 2-1 up at the time, and obviously we lost the game 3-2. So I actually, in the game itself, I know we got beat. I think not long after I came on, Gaz was on fire that game. Gary Alexander, he scored an unbelievable goal. I think not long after I came on, I got down the line, whipped a ball in for him, and he had a chance. I think 6, 7, 8 yards out, and you'd have put your money on Gaz scoring that.
And he missed.
And he unfortunately missed it, and that being his hat trick. And I think they went literally down the other end and scored, and they came back and won the game 3-2, which was massively disappointing. And I was gutted because I come on at 2-1 ahead, and we lost 3-2, so I was gutted thinking it was all me, So.
We all left Wembley a bit downhearted that day, but that wasn't to be your last appearance, was it? There, the following year, going into the next season, what were your expectations of your fellow Millwall teammates?
Obviously, Kenny kept the majority of the squad together. We knew we had a good squad. We had a great knit of lads there. We all were kind of real hard-working bunch. I think he added Morrow, so Steve Morrison that summer. I know he was a bit of an unknown quantity, so he was another goal scorer. He'd scored a lot of goals lower down. We were confident, but I think the league that year was very, very tough. Looking back, I think you had the likes of Leeds, you had Norwich in there. I think you had Charlton, Southampton, big clubs at that level. Then you had some other ones in there. I think you had the likes of MK Dons were always strong, the Swindons, the Huddersfields, those kind of clubs. So it was a tough league that year, probably the toughest it's been for a long time. But I think we, as a group, we were kind of very close knit, and we were always confident. I think we backed ourselves. We were gutted we were hurt from the kind of the playoff final the season before. We literally had kind of a 3-week break. I think we the playoff final was end of May, and Kenny had us back in towards the end of June, so we had like 2-3 weeks off, and we were straight back into it. So there was no rest. We had a job to do, really.
Well, at the end of that season, Chris, we finished third in the league, 1 point off of automatic promotion from Leeds, and set out the playoffs once again. And I know you've done the reason the boys didn't win automatic promotion because they knew that the fans wanted to go back to Wembley. So you decided to take the playoff route, thankfully, and get us there then. So
I'll go with that one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we felt that at the time, but if that's I'll go with it. It was because I think we just missed out on the last day, didn't we? I think Leeds had Bristol Rovers, and they were getting beat. I remember playing that game against Swindon at the Den. I think Swindon had a chance of going up as well, and I think Swindon went ahead. We came back and were 2-1 up, and then I think Bristol Rovers scored at Leeds, so the Den just erupted. I think halfway, about 40-50 minutes into the game, and I remember that well. And I thinking, what's going on here? Obviously, Leeds are getting beat. We've got a chance, and then obviously it changed quite quickly. So that was it gave us a little lift, and then a knock off the back of that. But again, we knew what the playoffs were all about, and we knew we had a job to do off the back of the season before. So I think nobody knows in the playoffs, but we were quietly confident that we'd back ourselves.
But once again, you missed out on the semis. There seems to be a bit of a pattern happening here.
Yeah.
But after a fantastic night at the Den, beating Huddersfield, you walked out on the Wembley turf on the 18th of May as a substitute for the playoff final against Swindon.
Yeah.
What were your memories of that day?
Yeah, so again, I missed out on the Huddersfield game. I picked up an injury just before done my groin just before the playoff semi-finals. The feel before the Swindon game, but unlike the year before, I think, not that we got blinded by the lights a little bit of Wembley, but I think this year, that year when we played Swindon, I think there was a focus about everybody. It was we're going to Wembley to do a job. You know, it wasn't we're going to Wembley for a day out and the suits and all that kind of stuff. We knew that there was a job to do, because if you get beat at Wembley, it's the worst place to get beat. So it wasn't any suits, any going tours around Wembley, all that kind of stuff. It was normal prep. It was turn up in your tracksuits. It was, right, we're coming here to do a job. And I think there was a silent focus about everybody that we knew we had to go there and do that. And we did. It was a tough game. It was a real tough game. Swindon were a solid team. We had Charlie Austin, who'd scored bundles of goals that year. And yeah, it was a real cagey, tough game. We nicked a goal through Robbo from a set piece. I come on with half an hour to go. Last 10 minutes, it was, like I said, it was quite cagey. Last 10 minutes, I felt we were kind of backs up against the wall. And everybody remembers that Charlie Austin chance, you know. Everybody remembers that. Nobody's going to forget that. I think everybody talks about it now. That one bobble on Wembley that he managed to find, and he found it, you know. So that kind of.
I remember digging it up the night before, as it goes, Chris, that spot.
It's lucky you did that, Ted.
He found that bobble, so that was history. Then after that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a funny old game, really. I mean, we had Liam Trotter on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he said he was angry with Neil Harris and Steve Morrison. He said the two of them could have scored 3 goals if they'd only have passed to each other, but they seem to be going for who's going to score first. And I've got to be honest, I did see times when I thought, why ain't they putting it across to each other? And it was just madness. It was just madness. But luckily, as you said, Robbo did score and Austin missed. And but were the team apprehensive after the game about going up or not?
I think it was a group that had been together a long time, like 2-3 years. A lot of the boys there had been together. A lot of us had kind of, some had played in the championship, some hadn't. So everybody knew it was a step up. But it was something everybody was kind of striving towards, you know. So it was, of course, you're apprehensive, but we were obviously, this is what we'd all kind of wanted. And at the same time, you know, you go up and there's going to be extra competition and pressure put on your places. But that's what you're in it for, you know. We'd done the job that we wanted to do, and now was the next step. And got the club back into the championship where we all knew it deserved to be at least. And that was job one done, and then it was the next one is kind of how do you fare in the championship in a strong championship.
Yeah.
Going into that championship season, you found your opportunities a little bit limited. A decent 9th place finish for Millwall. Yeah. Do you think they could have done better though?
I don't know. We had a solid season that year, to be honest. Me personally, like I said, I knew I was coming in. There'd be kind of players brought in to strengthen. I mean, the players they brought in my positions. I mean, Jason Punch and Andros Townsend came in. So you're looking at players who played in the Prem. So they're good players, you know. So I was in and out of the team a little bit that season, but I knew these lads would come in and they were decent players, and that's just part and parcel of football, I guess. You have to kind of accept that. Yeah, I think we were close at one point. I think we were pushing for those players. That was the aim. I think that's once you're that close. I think the aim was to get into the playoffs. And I think there's a couple of occasions when we might have done it if we'd have stuck to the form. But I think we dropped off and didn't quite make it in the end. But it was a positive step to come up from League One and then finish ninth in the Championship. Was a positive season, I think.
Obviously, Oxford are going to go up through the playoffs. They play Millwall next year. Who are you supporting?
It's a good question. It is a brilliant question, you know, and I say it to a lot of people. I've played at other clubs, Northampton and other clubs and Hearts and bits. But I mean, I grew up at Oxford. I supported Oxford as a boy. They're my club as a kid. But I've never. I mean, since the day I stepped into Millwall, I felt welcomed by everybody there, you know, and they're the first club I look out for now. They've got a massive place in my heart. The fans, the people, the players I met during that time there was amazing, you know, and that's what the club is. So I can't say between the two, but they're two clubs that are massive in my heart.
Well, don't worry, Chris. You won't have the dilemma because we'll be in the Premier.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, hopefully they don't meet each other because you want to be in the Premier League.
There's every chance, isn't there? What's 1 point? How many points off the?
2 points off the
2 points.
Yeah, every chance. You know. So hopefully that's what happens. So that'd be brilliant. But hopefully Oxford in the Championship, Millwall in the Premier League. That'd be good next season.
Chris,
stay at Wembley, Chris, and watch us.
Yeah, enjoy playing with Sam.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to chat to you. Thanks for telling us all the stories from those great seasons back in Millwall history, the playoffs coming up into the Championship. Chris Hackett there, former Millwall winger. We're going to take a break there. We'll be back with our review of the top 20 Millwall goal scorers of the 21st century.
Bethany Warren here again. Thank you for listening to our show. Don't forget, Love Sport Radio is now mothballed pending change in current pandemic conditions. Love Sport are still running previous programmes and you can hear some programmes on demand online. You can still listen to repeat programmes both online and on DAB. Hopefully we'll be back on the air with them quickly when conditions improve. In the meantime, watch out for our podcast adverts on Facebook and Twitter. Our podcast show links are available on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, SoundCloud and Pinterest.
I'm Miles Blomsom. I'm back with the No One Likes Us talking team of Patricia, Ted and Eamon. We're going to review another one of the Millwall top 20 goal scorers of this century, as produced by Bringing Stats Alive Football, who you can find on Facebook and who produce fantastic visualisations of statistics. This week, we have the last of 4 players on 17 goals, sitting in joint 15th position. This week, we're discussing Alan Dunn.
Well, Alan Dunn. What can I say? I mean, he was at the Den for 15 years as a pro, and he was probably there for another 10 years before that, because when he turned up, I think from Ireland with his mum and his dad, he quickly signed for the academy. So he's been around, probably one of the longest players for a long time. But as a pro, he played in a position that really didn't put him into the talent spotting lights of being a striker, but he did move occasionally into midfield, and I remember him scoring a cracking goal when he was put into the midfield, and I can't remember who it was against. I'm sure Ted will remind me. But he, for a fullback generally and a sort of deputy midfielder, he weren't a bad goal scorer for us, and I'm just delighted, because of the amount of time he spent with us, that he's in that top 20 of this century's goal scorers.
Well, Eamon, I've got to tell you, I remember the goal, but I can't remember who it was against. It was a cracking goal.
It's got to be West Ham, surely. It's got to be West Ham.
It was a cracking. It was a cracking strike. It was a thunderbolt. And Dunny had that in his locker. He could hit a ball, you know, because he wasn't a bad penalty taker. You know, I've seen him take a couple of penalties as well. I wouldn't say he was a great goal scorer. I think I'm getting into the good goal scoring stakes here with Dunning. But yeah, I can't remember too many more of his goals, to be quite honest. But he's obviously scored 17 goals for us. But like you said, playing from full-back, it was difficult for him. But he did do a good job when he went into midfield a couple of occasions, and certainly, I wish I could remember the team, but it was a great goal that he scored with whoever it was against. So, yeah, a good player, good all-round player, Dunny.
Yeah, very passionate but impetuous, but a never dirty player though, was he? But however, we are looking at goal-scoring abilities in this. Talented defender, that's what he got paid for. He loved Millwall and we loved him, and it was a travesty he didn't get in the starting 11 for the cup final. I thought that was really bad for him because he really loved the club. And he never achieved international status either. which I think was a mistake as well. Although he did say on that point that no one ever thought he was Irish anyway.
That was a strange one, Pat. That was a strange one, the cup final, like you say, because he put Marvin Elliott at right back, didn't he, in the cup final?
That's right, and he didn't even get on the sub. He had a punch up in the tunnel, didn't he, as they went out with Gannon? Yeah, he did. Yeah. I can't remember any standout goals myself, but just a standout legend.
You weren't watching that game then. You didn't go. You can't remember that. I mean, it's incredible. That was. Me and Ted remembered it. Why wouldn't you?
It was that incredible. I can't remember the team.
I don't know. If you remember the team, I might have remembered it.
All right, should we get to voting? The categories, of course, goal hanger, goal scorer, good goal scorer, or great goal scorer. We'll start with you, Pat. Where are you going to place Alan Dunn?
Well, as I said in previous weeks, he doesn't fit into any of those categories because he wasn't a great goal scorer, but he wasn't a goal hanger. So, as before, not voting.
God, dear.
Oh, come on.
Apoplectic yourself, eh?
Women have voted
on the fence.
Women have fought for years to get a vote back.
Look, what was it? 15 years of pro there, 17 goals, so he's not a good goal scorer. What can you give the man?
Well, he averaged more than one goal a season. Come on, Pat.
No, I'm abstaining.
As I said, Pat, women have been fighting for years for the vote, and now you've turned it, just chucked it
you're
away.
wrong. They've been fighting to vote or not.
I mean,
you're not.
You could twist it, and you were talking before about the great goal he scored. So instead of great goal scorer, you could be like scorer of a great goal.
Yeah.
We're making up our own little sections here. No, I'll abstain and let the other two.
Well, I'm very clear about where he sits, and I know you pontificate and analyse things to death, Pat, but from a right back position and occasionally sitting in midfield, I think he's a good goal scorer.
Out the categories we've got, I'll have to go with good goal scorer.
All right, I think that settles Alan Dunn as a good goal scorer because it's 2 votes to none, isn't it, really? Our second guest tonight is BBC and Millwall iFollow commentator Carl Bates. iFollow is the EFL-managed audio and streaming service for the majority of clubs in the Football League. Carl and his co-commentator, they're going to be delivering the service to Millwall fans for the remaining 9 games of the season. Carl, welcome to the podcast.
Well, welcome back. Pleasure to be here as always.
Tell us exactly what you and your co-commentator will have to do to make these commentaries happen for all the Millwall fans.
Well, basically, we've been sent through guidelines from the football club and EFL. We're being asked to be at the ground an hour and a half before kick-off. There's a half an hour slot where the media will be allowed in. I believe there's around 25 to 30 of us. What we've got to do, we've got to socially distance, queue up outside, put a mask on, and then we will have our temperatures checked at the door. Obviously, if your temperature's fine, you're allowed in. Go through the usual bag searches. Obviously, I will open my bag, just make sure everything's okay. We are then going to be escorted through the press room. Normally at Millwall, there's a press area where you sit down, get a cup of tea, bite to eat, write down your pre-match notes, etc. But you'll be going straight past that, straight up the stairs into the commentary area itself. You'll pretty much stay there unless you need the toilet or anything. There's a couple of them just down the hall. And once the game is about to start, then you can remove your mask to commentate. You'll be given team sheets, by the way, at 2 o'clock, so we will get them as normal. But as for covering the game, obviously it's going to be bizarre. I believe there is going to be crowd noise pumped into the actual stadium itself. And I know from the club that the crowdies, that they've been offering the sort of cutouts of people, I believe they're going to be in the lower tier of the Dockers. And I think it's around 1,000 that they've had sign up for that, so that's wonderful to hear. Now, I know that they are going to be having a red, amber and a green zone in regards where people can and can't go. So the green zone will be the stewards sort of on the helping people into the car park, showing them where they need to park, checking our temperatures on the way in. But then there's the amber zone, which is the press, which will be ourselves, who are allowed into the actual stadium. But there's the red zone, which is actually pitch side. That's where the players, medical staff, etc., that have all been properly swabbed, tested. It's sort of almost a pure zone. So they are the only people allowed in that area. If we want to do any post-match interviews afterwards, they will arrange a safe zone, shall we say. I don't know if anybody's seen any of the interviews on television from some of the games in the Bundesliga, etc. But there will be a clear gap between the managers and the reporters. And I think it's just going to be a case of, well, it's unprecedented times. I've never commentated on a game where there will be, well, I said 10, 20 people around me, and apart from the odd ball boy here, there and everywhere, that's going to be about that.
Carl, who's co-commentating with you on Saturday?
It's going to be Les Briley. Les is coming along as always. We couldn't hold him back. They obviously said to Les, are you okay to come? And Les was chomping at the bit. I doubt they even finished the question before Les come in straight away, and was really pleased and looking forward to it. He was on the phone to me pretty soon afterwards telling me the good news that he's coming along with us. So that'll be great to see him. I must admit it's been a while, but always good value, Les.
Do you have to social distance while you're commentating with him? So you're going to have to sit 2 metres apart?
Yes, they are setting up specific seats for people. Where I am, there'll be 2 seats with nobody in it, and then Les will be in the one after that. And thankfully, I've got a set of headphones that have got a very long lead on them, so that part of things isn't a problem. Normally, we'll share notes, latest scores, bits and bobs we'd have in between us, but I'll just take on that mantle and just leave Les to make his notes and obviously give us his infinite wisdom on the club.
Carl, does Les know that when Millwall score on Saturday, he's got to make a noise like 15,000 rampant Millwall fans, so that it makes us all feel like we're there, even though we're not?
He does anyway. So yeah, it's just you. It's just you guys can't hear him because you're involved at the time. So no, it'll become more than apparent. No, me and Les have been known to leave our seats and cuddle occasionally on certain goals. So yeah, that'll probably be hard for me and him to be socially distanced while celebrating, but probably not half as weird as it'll be for the players. I'm quite concerned that if Millwall score a last-minute winner, that I'll be commentating so loud the players will hear me just as much as themselves celebrating. So that could be
I'll take
awkward.
it, Cole. These rules are everywhere as such. Every club has to abide by the same set of rules for you people from the media.
Yeah, in regards how many can come into the ground, that obviously depends on the setup for the press. I mean, I don't mean to always seem to pick on Luton, but with Luton's ground, it's very small. It's very compact, shall we say, in the press area.
Is a good word.
It is, but I'm going to ignore that and just say compact, I think. But no, I think with Millwall, they're very lucky, as I said, it's be between 20 and 30 of us there. I think with Luton, it'd be the same procedure, but probably only 10 to 15 people allowed in. And other grounds, maybe more. I mean, we'll see. I know Barnsley is a bit open air, shall we say, there. So I don't know what will happen when we go up there next week. Hull, if anybody's ever been there, there's plenty of seats at the best of times, so I don't think we'll have a problem there. When we went up for the midweek game last season, we had literally a whole stand to ourselves, so I don't think there'll be a problem there somehow.
So basically you're saying Luton will be just as normal?
Nothing new there then, Ted.
Sorry, my Luton mates, I couldn't resist that.
That's your words, not mine. Although I may have been nodding. I may have been nodding at the same time.
What do you expect the game to be like? Do you think the players are going to find it hard to get up for the game? Because when you think about Millwall, you think about passionate support, home and away. You can always hear the fans. I know they're going to have noise pumped in, but it's not going to be quite as reactionary, is it? It can't be exactly the same. How do you expect the players to get pumped for the game?
I think that's going to be heavily down to the management. I think that's something that Gary has really got to embed into his players. Keep trying to get them focused on the importance. Don't allow the game to lull into what could almost come across as a training match, like a game behind closed doors where somebody's just trying to prove their fitness. Need to keep it at that level. The likes of Alex Pearce, I think, will be vital. He's a very boisterous character at the best of times. To somebody like him, the experience of Sean Williams as well, Matt Smith, those sort of players you really need to draw on to keep everybody focused and Millwall are 2 points outside the playoffs. I'm sure we've all seen the run-in. It does favour Millwall, although we do have a tendency to make mistakes against the lower positioned clubs in the top 6. We seem to knock out of the way, no problem. So it's going to be hard, I think, for the players initially, no question. I mean, we've seen it already. I saw a couple of the games in the week, and you've seen before the match where the teams don't come out together. They they come out one at a time. When they're lining up beforehand, they're not entirely sure what to do, where to go. So I think it's that first 5 minutes of just getting them engaged and switched on. I'm sure various people behind the scenes are trying to get the players sort of psychologically set for Saturday's game, because it's so important. The first game is huge. Win against Derby, and people then will generally start to believe Millwall are a real sort of challenge, have got a real chance of getting into those playoff spots. Lose, and people are going to be starting thinking, same old Millwall, got this great chance, just going to fall short.
Carl, there's been a couple of questions come in on Twitter and Facebook, and one that keeps repeating itself, and I'm not quite sure why, is in relation to the bandwidth that iFollow has got. Have they got a sufficient bandwidth for all these additional fans that will be listening and watching?
Yeah, fair point. We do occasionally get messages during the game saying that somebody's struggling with bandwidth, and thankfully most of them have been sorted fairly quickly. In regards to bandwidth, the only thing, I don't understand the sort of that side of things. The only thing I do know is that because there's a lot less games on at the same time, because obviously Leagues 1 and 2 aren't obviously running anymore apart from the playoffs, there is also the fact of different kickoff times. So there should be far more bandwidth generally because there's far less games on. So I'd like to think that there shouldn't be any glitches. Touch wood.
Good point. Old Pat will talk about a cherry picker in a minute.
I've put that already. Carl, you said about picking up the team sheet at 2 o'clock. It starts at 1, you'll miss the game.
That's a very good point. Good spot. Yeah, it'll be halfway through the game. If I haven't worked out who's playing where by half time, then I really am in the wrong job. So, yeah, I know. And also, you reminded me I need to get there at about 11, half 11, not half 12, 1 o'clock. So.
We'll send you a tweet.
Yeah, you could, yeah. Just don't.
Carl,
just don't send it to Ted as well.
Cheers.
Carl, before we let you go, we're going to have to get a score prediction. Millwall Derby at the Den, 1 o'clock on Saturday. First game back. It's sort of unknown as to how the teams are going to perform, but what do you think the score's going to be?
I'm going to go 1-0 Millwall. I think defensively the team is very solid. I think it's a well-oiled machine. With Bart behind, Coops and Hutch, maybe Pearce involved as well, I don't know, but I think that's a really good sound sort of back four, shall we say, to rely on, and I fancy us to get a goal at some point to break Derby down. Probably Smith. He was having a fantastic time of things before the break, and hopefully he can pick up where he left off. Although I must admit, I would love to see Malumbi score, considering he was robbed by an ankle at the City ground. So it'd be great for him to open his account for the Lions.
And 1-0, is that going to be enough to set the wheels in motion for that playoff push, do you think? This win, is it the most vital win? Yeah,
I think so. It's getting up and running again quickly. I think if it's 1-0, then 9, 5-4, 6-0, I don't think it matters drastically. It's just getting those 3 points on the board. Other teams are going to drop points above Millwall. So it's just putting more and more pressure on other people and getting the team to start believing. I mean, the next game we got away at Barnsley, you got away at Hull. Apart from that, Millwall are in the capital. There's the only two other away games are QPR and Cheltenham. So it's close to home. They really have got a genuine chance, and I think the players and fans will start genuinely believing if they can get those 3 points Saturday.
And Millwall going up?
Playoffs, perhaps. Definitely not going top 2. But it would be lovely to get Leeds 3rd, Millwall 6th.
Carl, thank you so much for joining us. Carl Bates there from the BBC and, of course, Millwall iFollow commentator. We'll be bringing you all the commentaries for the league games, the 9 remaining league games in the Championship season for Millwall. The Millwall Community Trust have and still are doing excellent work in Southwark, Lewisham and for the wider Millwall community during these really challenging times. We heard in depth about this from its CEO Sean Daly last week. This week we hear from Tom Rolt, who CEO Sean Daly spoke so highly of last week. Tom, welcome to the show. We're going to start by asking the question we're asking everybody because it's the most important question at the moment. How have you been coping throughout the lockdown period?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me on first and foremost. Lockdown. What an interesting time to be alive. Has been my rhetoric and my message. Obviously, good health and prosperity, but it's been an interesting time for me personally. I've used the time to just sort of realign, refocus, a little bit of a life reset, if you will. I've tried to keep a little bit of routine and keep fit and just stay as busy as possible whilst working from home. But definitely time we'll reflect on in 10 years' time for sure.
Hi Tom, it's Pat here. Good to know. I'm fine. It's good to know you and your wife and all your family are safe. You're engaged in the Divert programme, and as I understand, out of all the London clubs, only Palace and ourselves are involved. Just remind us what you normally do in your role in normal times. Yeah, so day to day, the main operations, if you will, are based out of Lewisham Police Station. This, obviously, in this instance, the custody suite, and the aim of the game, if you will, for my role is to engage with 18 to 25-year-olds that are detained in custody, and basically just to initiate a conversation with them and establish, sort of where they are in life outside of the custody suite. Of course, what are they doing with themselves and quite frankly, are they interested in pursuing any opportunities that will lead to desistance, away from reoffending and so forth. And we have a consultation. It's not an interview. It's definitely just a one-to-one, a chat, if you will. Can range from half an hour up to an hour, however long it may be. And we sort of devise an in-depth personal development plan, and we create, realistic targets to work towards to support that individual from when they're, released back into custody. Released back into the community. But again, there's no commitment. There's no pressure on the work. Ultimately, it's a voluntary opportunity, and I think that's why we have so many successes through the work, because if people engage with us, it's because they want to move forward with their life, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Hi Tom, it's Ted.
Hello Ted.
Unfortunately, mate, you've come around 50 years too late for me, but it's wonderful that you give these guys the opportunity or a second chance of whatever way you want to look at it to move their lives on, which is what I think when people are in that position, someone like you is an angel, to be quite honest. But during this lockdown, it must have affected your fantastic work that you're doing. Has it made it more difficult to get to people, or has it been working?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ted. It's quite a pertinent one as well. I think ultimately, I think creativity and innovation are the key comprehensive words in terms of how we've had to react to this, not as just as CICs, but as an organisation. I mean, we're quite fortunate that we've got advocates within police custody. So obviously, the police staff, they see what we've done and they back us completely. So we've been quite fortunate that referrals have come straight from custody, from sergeants, DDOs, inspectors, and so forth. So we've had referrals come in where we've been able to have contact numbers of some individuals that have been detained, and we've, started the consultation, if you will, when they're released by phone, to start those initial conversations to plan for when normality in whatever capacity is resumes, if that makes sense. So that's been fairly positive. We've been able to keep tabs on, our cohort that we were dealing with before we went into lockdown as well, regular calls, contact, and so forth.
I was going to say, Tom, being that it's difficult now, I mean, you're really trying to get these guys' trust to a certain extent, I would have thought. And if it's on a phone call, that could be difficult. Do you do like a FaceTime call, or is it... What I mean is, I would imagine your job's that much easier when you see people face to face.
Ted, do you know what? It's exactly that. Now on the head, our work is absolutely face value, front line, getting stuck in, as I like to say. So this time has been very difficult because someone like myself, I feel that I can rub off on people when I'm with them in that 1-to-1, and over a phone call, for me, you can probably think that the process could be deemed quite futile, if that makes sense, because it's just a phone call. What's that? Do you know what I mean? So it has been difficult, and I've really had to hone in on my skills and my expertise to be able to build that trust and gain a little bit of rapport. So it's definitely been difficult, but perseverance has been absolutely everything, and we've just had to get on with it and do the very best that we can for the individuals that need us the most during this time.
Thanks for telling us all of that, Tom. I mean, it's fascinating work. Giving people a second chance it must give you something back as well, and it also promotes our football club as an extremely positive light as too. But have you got a couple of experiences of taking people from arriving in that custody suite and what's actually happened to them? You don't need to name anyone, but how the process works through.
No, for sure. I mean, it's funny you say that, Eamon. I've actually got one individual I caught up with today, and he was the very first person that I spoke with in a divert capacity back in October 2018, and we first engaged, and he was proper down in the dumps, as I like to say. In a real bad place. I really worried for him, but we was able to sort of create an action plan for him. When he got his CSCS card, he started working on site. He's gone and got various tickets in an 18-month period, worked really, really hard, and he called me today to let me know that he's been offered his first sort of accommodation, away from the family home, and he's been able to do that all because of that initial conversation in custody with us. And I believe in influencing change. I like to put things in place for individuals to hold themselves accountable for their own lives. But it was really nice to hear from him today to tell me that, and he was just like, look, thank you for the way you applied yourself to me, and you never gave up on me. That was quite a powerful thing that he said to me. You never gave up on me. I messed up. I made several mistakes, but you always went back to the drawing board. You were positive. You broke things down for me and all that stuff. So it's quite interesting to ask me that question, and I had that conversation today. It's ironic, really, but I mean, there's so many individuals that I work with, and they explain to me the impact of that conversation and how it's impacted their life. And that just means everything to me. That's everything. So really positive stuff.
Wow,
that's absolutely incredible. Tom, I'm a ringer brought in this week to help with the podcast. So I'm looking in from the outside. Yeah. Why is it that Millwall and Palace have taken up this initiative, but some of the other London clubs haven't?
I think first and foremost, just to talk about Millwall briefly. Millwall get stuck into these opportunities. They advocate these type of programs. That the trusts sort of go after. So I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of formal directives and due diligence that needs to go on. But I think ultimately what it is, Millwall believe in bettering people's lives and offering opportunity, because it's a true reflection of the fan base, passionate individuals, hard-working people, and I think that rhetoric, it moves directly over into opportunities that become available, and Millwall take a punt on, and ultimately Palace, with the greatest respect to them, I know rivals on the pitch, but off the pitch, they have the same sort of belief and culture. That it's about giving back to the communities and just taking a little bit of a risk and getting involved with these initiatives to give people, a chance to improve their sustenance,
Just let Palace have all the wrong ones, Tom.
That's the plan, Ted. Don't worry. That's how I work anyway, so it's all good.
Hey, Tom, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your story today. I mean, is it a job or is it more like a vocation, right? Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you stay safe through these weird times at the moment.
Thank you, ladies and gents. Take care. All the
Cheers,
best.
Tom.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Good luck, Tom. Cheers, mate.
Bye.
If you've not heard enough of the fantastic work of the Millwall Community Trust, here's some more. The Trust is now starting its own female football academy. It's going to be officially launched in September. The new programme will have teams at under 12, under 14 and under 16 level. There's a clear pathway to first team football with the Millwall Lionesses senior team. CEO Sean Daly said, "We feel this is a very positive step for the Millwall Community Trust and for girls football in the local boroughs." Trials are going to be held on the 11th and 12th of July at St Paul's Sports Ground. That's Salter Road, Rotherhithe. If you have or know of a girl that can, get them to register for a place at the trials by emailing dpalmer@millwallcommunity.org.uk. That's DPALMER, all one word, at Millwall Community is all one word as well. That's dpalmer@millwallcommunity.org.uk. The trials are subject to appropriate relaxation of existing lockdown measures and guidance relating to the COVID-19 outbreak. Your Lionesses need you. We need you to get in and sign up. We'll be taking a break there, and when we come back, we'll have a preview of the long-awaited return to Championship football against Derby County.
Hi, Patricia Maslin here. The Millwall Community Trust needs volunteer help. Whether you're an organisation with bodies able to assist or an individual, the Trust needs you during the pandemic to support the vulnerable and the needy. If you can help make a difference, please contact Sean Daly, the Trust's Chief Executive Officer. You can contact him by phone on 07958 027060. Once again, that's 07958 027060. Or you can contact him by email, sdaly, that's SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. I'll repeat that, sdaly, spelt SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. Thanks again if you think you may be able to help or you know someone who might.
I'm Miles Blumsom, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us Talking team of Patricia, Ted and Eamon. Right, it's time for the proper meat of the podcast. Championship football returns this weekend, Saturday at 1 o'clock, Millwall Derby County at the Den. That was the first game that got called off after the COVID-19 lockdown. I'm excited for it to come back. Team, it's been a long time. You must just be excited.
Well, I'm excited. Are you excited, Ted?
I am, but I've got to say first, was that really Pat just saying that message? It was a posh voice, a telephone voice. I wondered who I was listening to. It was really strange.
Yeah, you pick on someone else. Pick on Miles for not saying Rotherhithe properly.
No,
yes, he did.
Yes, sorry.
Never mind.
I said I was a ringer.
Never mind, Miles, you got an excuse, mate. You got an excuse. Millwall Derby, what can I say about it? I mean, if it had been, not in lockdown, we would have won, definitely, because that game was a sellout and we was on a roll. Now, as we all know, we've had all the lockdown time where we've been off and playing in a stadium that is empty. Derby have some very good players, we all know Wayne Rooney, but they was a team that surprised me because I don't know what went wrong with them or what's gone wrong with them, because I expected them to be one of the sides challenging for the playoffs. I know they possibly could still, with a late run maybe come somewhere near it, but they was in a poor sort of state, really, I thought, before lockdown. But now, this is a complete leveller. But, having said that, our team, Millwall, I don't think they're going to need motivating. I think they're the sort of side that are going to go out and give you a game. So I'm quietly confident that we will win the game, but it will be tough. It'll be tough.
Well, return of the mighty Lions, 2 points off the playoff, great squad, easiest running of all the Championship clubs. It's totally down to the players if we do it or not. A form book is out the window. This is a new mini-season. Can you imagine the first game back with the supporters, if it's next season, we go straight into the Premiership? I mean, how good would that be? Look at our defence. What? Sorry, go on, Ted.
No, sorry, I was just going to say what you said there, though, Pat, is a leveller at the moment. I think we're, as you say, on paper, we're more than capable of winning every game we've got. But the whole way that it's come about now, it is I mean, there's going to be sides that, like I think I'm worrying about Derby, is that I didn't think they was very good at the time that the season finished. But they could all of a sudden come back and be a good side because they have got quality players in there. So it's all going to be very strange.
Shenanigans off the field has affected Derby with their players, the drunk driving and the car crash. I think that really affected
we've taken the person that was involved in the drunk drive into the den. What are you on about?
Probably someone slipped him a few bob to do it. Yeah. But I mean, look at our defence. Look, you've got Bart, Romeo, Pearce, Coops, Hutch and Wallace. Now, 4 of them have just signed long-term contracts. That shows there's promotion vibes at the club. I think we've got this in the bag.
I'd like to think so.
Would you rather have played Derby earlier on in the season because they had a shocking start and they've come a bit better since Wayne Rooney's come into the side? So you mentioned Rooney earlier as well, being one of the quality players. Is it a bit gutting not to be able to see him in person running out at the Den?
I meant to say to Carl a bit earlier to make sure he shouted out what I was going to shout out at him. But I'm not sure if you're able to do that live on there.
No, I don't think you can, Ted. That's to be honest. No, I would have rather played them before they sort of settled, and they probably had a bit of time even to gel a bit more since coming back to training. He's literally, we're going to be without Bennett. Of course, he's tired after that performance at Forest, and then ridiculously, we're back to problems with that bloke Ben Thompson, who seems to be, prolifically an injury case all the time. He's a doubt, as is Aidan O'Brien. But all I can say is that Ryan Leonard has come back and he seems to be tucking away the goals from the midfield position. Albeit against someone like Colchester United and some other dream team that we've played in between. But I think the team is there. I think it was a massive boost, and it was a very difficult job at one stage to get Cooper to re-sign for a longer contract, and it was, from my perspective, wasn't going to happen.
I was just going to say, I think, like we said earlier, this is going to be such a marker to put down this game for the rest of this season. We all say that at the start of any season. Let's see what that. But everyone's going to have sort of aspirations of the last 9 games of, as Pat said, like a mini league and winning it. Even the likes of Charlton down the other end will be saying to themselves, "Well, if we can win this mini league, we could. We definitely ain't going to get relegated and all that." It's all a new start for everyone. So that's why, as per any start of any season, you can never really predict anything with any real substance because we don't know how they're going to come out. I mean, I would hope we come flying out the traps, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Sam Gardner, when he was on the other week, he virtually said everything you said word for word. So it is. I think this is the big one.
I mean, there's quite a lot to play for. Millwall being 2 points off the playoff spots. Derby are only 3 points off Millwall. So Millwall for a win keeps them in touch or could push them into the playoff positions. Derby, with a win, jumps them up to Millwall's place, or jumps up on level points with Millwall, and puts them right back in with a shout of a late run at the playoffs as well.
Yeah.
Even without a crowd, which is what I think a lot of players get up to perform for, do you still expect it to be quite a meaty clash and see some hard-working players, or is it going to be like some of these behind closed doors games that have happened in different leagues around the world that are maybe a little bit flat?
Unless I'm mistaken with this Millwall team, Miles, we've got players like Jason Malumbi, Ryan Woods, Hutch, Alex Pearce if he plays. Them guys don't know how to play any other way than 100%. It's just whether we can gel like you want them to gel at the start of a season, if you know what I mean. Get back to how we was playing just before the lockdown. But them guys, I don't think they know how to play any other way that I'll mention. So hopefully that will carry us through in these situations.
All right, should we have some predictions then? 1 o'clock at the Den, Millwall Derby. Pat, you can't say no. You have to actually give your prediction this.
I definitely won't say no. I'm going to do a 2-0 win to us.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to us, and I think we'll come back from an early goal by Derby.
I mean, I've listened to Pat. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with her, but no, I'm with Pat. 2-0. I think, defensive wise, I think we're very good, and hopefully we hold out with that. And I do have a feeling that they're going to be up for it, the boys, and hopefully I'm right. A 2-0 win would really set us up for the rest of the season.
So everyone's saying a Millwall win. I tell you what, if you put some money on Eamon's prediction, Derby to score first, Millwall to win, I reckon you get a decent bit of money back for that.
You know what to do, Miles. You heard it first.
The only thing is, Miles, it's got to happen.
Yeah, I have to sign up for the account. I'm going to do it. I trust you, Eamon. All right, let's go around and get our snap responses. Eamon, I'll start with you. Playoffs or not this season?
Playoffs.
Ted?
Yeah, I've got to say playoffs, because I looking at these fixtures, I see no reason why not. So playoffs, yeah.
And Pat, you've been speaking about the Premier League season the whole way through the show, so I'm fairly sure I know where you're going to land.
Absolutely. It's a clean sweep. I'll get my teeth in. That's a clean sweep of 3 same playoffs.
Why are you so confident?
I'm just on a high about it starting. I'm just getting so excited. It's like pre-season.
Well, I'm just looking at the way we played against Forest in that last game. If we can get anywhere near the heights that we hit there, which I think they're more than capable of, and looking at the opposition that we got between now and the end of the season, I see no reason why they can't win every game, to be quite honest. I know that's been a bit optimistic, but that they are, if you look at them on paper, they are games that we can win. And so if we win 6 out of 9, I think we're going to be in the playoffs. So,
well, we haven't got to play any teams in the top 8.
No,
we've got the easiest running, haven't we?
But the only thing with that is sometimes it's harder playing relegation sides at this near relegation in a relegation battle. Sorry, except for Charlton. No, Barnsley's of this world and whatever. They will be difficult because they'll be fighting for their lives. But
when you've got the likes of Coop signing long-term contracts and then 4 quality players, they must believe we can make it, or they wouldn't have signed.
In Gary Rowett, they all trust. This is what you got to remember. This is the guy that for every game that we've played since he came to us, he has given us a different plan for every game. He hasn't gone, we'll play the same as last week. He hasn't gone, we'll have the same team as last week, doing the same things. You notice it in every game. Players play differently, slightly differently. We play a different way of going at a side. I think we've got the most magic man at the helm, and that's why I believe we're going to the playoffs.
What about Eamon? Callum Davison.
That's a miss.
It's a miss.
I'm just saying you're heaping praise on Gary Rowett, which is rightly so, but more often than not, behind the manager's a very, very good right-hand man. Now, it seems like Adam Barrett's going to step into that place, but is he going to be a Callum Davison? I don't know, but sometimes that could be a bigger loss than your star player. I hope I'm wrong, because I do think a lot of Adam Barrett, and he might well be the right guy to go in there, But let's hope, that Callum Davison's not a big miss.
All right, we'll move on to a slightly serious note. As people, of course, continue to lose their lives to this deadly virus, COVID-19, many remain hospitalised as well. Our thoughts go out to their families, friends, and those who care of them.
Watch out for the final part of our interview special on Tuesday with a Lions favourite, Dennis Burnett, as Eamon extracts some more great stories from him. And that's good night from me.
Carl Bates asked me to say to you, don't forget You can use a pass or pay to tune into audio or the streamed service to hear Carl Bates and that most famous of Millwall captains, the one that took us to the top flight, Les Briley, on Millwall I Follow this Saturday, when they will be commentating live on our game against Derby County. Don't forget it's at 1 o'clock, because we had to remind Carl of that. It will be Gary, Dave and Stan who will be with you next Friday at 8 p.m. And until the next time, good night from Eamon.
And let's not forget to still keep safe on the streets out there. That means social distancing and face masks where necessary. And that's good night from me.
It's been great fun to be back with the guys from No One Likes Us Talking. I've missed it. I really have. I've missed hearing all the Millwall stories, everything behind the scenes at Millwall Football Club, and of course the people that bring us the Millwall Fan Show. Like I said, it's been so much fun, and I promise, if I'm allowed back, I'll get Rotherhithe right next time.
That's a big if, Miles. That's a big if.
Bless you, Miles.
I'll have to start sending nice texts to you all to say, come on, have me back. All right, that's it from me, Miles Blumsom. Thanks, guys. Until the next time, good night.